GM.
GM. We have to change the entire name of the spaces. At this point, though, I'm not gonna lie.
You know, it's just been a few weeks of irregular scheduling. Um, but honestly, I do agree in the first place. The name, I've never been the biggest fan of the name. Like the name needs to change one way or the other. So, I am up for changing the name to something new. Because the name initially was something different at the very beginning. I forget exactly what it was. But like I think I had it double the length and half the shit that was in there just wasn't even relevant. I'm sorry. You can still probably hear I still have a bunch of I don't know, man. Whatever I have, I thought I was good completely yesterday, but there's just been like some residual ugh, that's stuck around. So, but yeah, no, I'm down. Any names? Like if you have a new name for the space, like comment on the pin tweet and
I don't.
we'll read through some of them. I'm telling the people in the audience, because Twitter still has not put in a real comment section yet, which is so stupid. They've got it for streams, but they don't have them for us.
Yeah, what I think we should do actually is spin up the Telegram and then do some sort of like discussion or vote in there with the community and like come up with a name. But yeah, because I think we need to get the Telegram going as well and scrap the Discord and just do it at this point.
All right, dude. I'm gonna, as we're sitting here on the call, just like start the new group, and if we just get it started, it would be a new channel, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Done. I am creating it right now. We'll add all the descriptions, everything else here in a bit.
There we go. Yes, sir. Get the ball rolling.
I'm going to start it as a private channel, though.
Yeah, it's fine.
So I will get the ball. I'll send this out in the group, but we'll officially have it live.
Awesome.
And
other than that, how you been, man? How you been?
Oh man, I mean, I had that camp for a week, and that was, dude. Like the camps are always good, but at the same time, they are exhausting as well. And I think I caught something at the very tail end of it. So I came back and I just felt terrible for the next few days. And the thing is, I think I caught two different things, man. I think I had a stomach bug, and the stomach bug like transitioned into some type of a cold. Um, and it sucks because it's like this is my free week or free week and a half, whatever, of being back home. But at the same time, it kind of lined up well with the fact that like I'm not traveling while I'm sick. So I've kind of just taken it easy, man. I feel like the market's just been, I don't know, market's been really quiet and hasn't been something that you really want to pay attention to much either way right now. I think I've kind of succumbed to like, I think we're just in that boring phase that we were last year, or not last year, but last cycle at the very beginning, where it's going to be like this probably for another few months. And I'm okay with that. Like, I would love to be surprised, but at the same time, it is what it is, right? Like, in the middle of like moves higher, the expansion that we've seen over the course of the past like year plus, having a little bit of a break here, not the craziest thing in the world.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I've been chilling, dude. The past couple weeks, I haven't really bought or sold anything coin wise. I did, call me crazy, buy more NFTs. I don't know, dude. It's like They keep saying NFTs are dead, but they're the only thing that I keep end up buying. Now I'm either completely retarded, which is an absolute possibility, or there might be something to these things, and that's where I'm putting my money.
No, I love it, man. I mean, yeah, the like I think what really sums up where the NFT marketplace is can like there was a gold ape today that sold for 78 ETH at Sotheby's. Did you see that?
Yeah, I did see that. It's been the highest ape sale in a while, but
So
from
what are
what they
your
came from,
thoughts on
like,
it?
is that supposed to be bullish? Because, like, from what they came from,
That's
it's
what I'm
like
asking.
five.
What are your thoughts on it?
I don't think anybody gives a shit about apes anymore. If I'm being 100% honest, I I really don't think. I think they're still somewhat the face of NFTs, unfortunately, to normies and the public, just because they have the most brand recognition. But for the people in the space, like, uh, what's going to make the prices move? I don't think it has any effect on. Nobody gives a shit. 78 ETH. That's what fucking Mando dumped on 100 apes on them at. Like, 70, 80 ETH is essentially nothing. Right? It's a nothing burger, essentially. I don't think people really care about apes anymore, or the ecosystem. I mean, they're still top 1 to 2 collection at the time. I don't think that's saying a lot at this point. I think penguins will probably continue to outpace them by a lot, and I think a lot of other collections will close the gap. Unfortunately, what I have seen in the NFT space, though, is a name like Punks taking a hit. Pretty much everybody that I knew, including myself, who you know wanted a punk, because that was always seen as the grail, right? And it's always been about trading up to a punk in NFTs, or not always been about, but that was always a goal, is to trade up to a punk, right? Nobody's interested in buying them
There
at
was
these
that half
prices.
mil hoodie sale though.
No, no, there was, and they still have relevance. I'm not saying they are
And I feel like the
irrelevant.
half mil hoodie sale would be, like let's see, what is the price of ETH right now?
Like 3,400.
Okay, so yeah, I mean like that's still double a gold ape. And at the same time, when you're talking about double the gold ape, a gold ape I would feel like is would be considered, if not the same, a higher tier than a hoodie from like the ape's perspective, right? You know, the gold ape is closer to, when you're talking about like zombie and aliens, right? Like somewhere in between there. I mean, so what I'm getting at though is if it just shows you still the relative strength of punks right now. And the punks floor obviously reflects it, but it's kind of one of those arguments that I think everybody the last cycle kind of knew would probably end up playing out. And it just kind of finally is, right? Like, the way I view it with the 7080 sale, it really is a literal nothing burger. We were talking about 500,000 ETH sales for these gold apes back during the last bull market. And I get that the price of ETH was slightly lower, but I still think it's just one of those things that like nobody really cares still about the USD value of NFTs. We're not quite to the point where any of these dexes have found out a way to seamlessly get people to view these in USD prices, which I honestly think, that could be a game changer. If people find a way to like seamlessly, make that the primary um the primary metric, I actually think it would be healthy for the NFT marketplace as a whole. but we're not there yet, right? Like, so point being, with this, it just kind of shows the state of where we are, right? It's like the grails of the quote unquote top blue chip collections are selling for a fraction of what they were. The floor prices right now have sunk across the board, and you're kind of at this point where it's like, and dude, like obviously stocks are no different right now, right? Like shit has just hit the bed when you're talking about like everything across the NFT marketplace. It's ugly, but you really have to ask yourself the question. It's like, okay, what is the level of conviction? Where are you? Like, and I really do, I still have a high level of conviction that NFTs will eventually resurface, right? Like, when you really, really, really look at where we are in terms of this market cycle, I mean, man, equivalent, like, we're at the summer of 2020, right? We're at the fall of 2016 post halving. We are not Actually, yeah, like fall of 20, we are not at the point where things are really expected to kind of just take off left and right. And I really do still believe that NFTs are going to have a resurgence. All it takes is like a couple collections to really start going crazy to get some of these like NFT bros that have switched over to the meme coin side of things just batshit crazy about NFTs again, right? Like it's going to end up happening.
I'm not fucking selling, bro. Like, I've just, yeah, I don't know what it is about. Like, they, ever since I did the deep dive, the NFTs has always stood out for me. Even starting from just being like a levered ETH bet, right? Which they still are, and yeah, I don't know if I would like the common thing for them to be denominated in USD instead of ETH because in my mind, yeah, it's always about more coins, not necessarily how many monies.
But dude,
Um,
back in the day, NFT or people said the same thing about shitcoins, Rooster. People said the same thing about that whenever people talked about denominating shitcoins in USD. People laughed. They legitimately laughed at anybody that denominated any shitcoin in USD because everybody was like, why would you care what this alt is worth in terms of USD price? Bitcoin is the only thing that matters, right? And I kind of honestly think that's where we are still with NFTs is that mindset of, why would you want to like have USD be the denominator here? ETH is all that matters, or Sol is all that matters. I think eventually that kind of switches, right? Like, I'm not sure what causes that switch, but like intuitively, that's the direction that we go, right? As far as like getting more normies to be able to speculate on things, normies don't really know the difference between like what X amount of ETH is and what X amount of Sol is. Normies understand USD,
yeah, I
right?
don't know. The fucking market seemed to be saying Bitcoin is the only thing that matters and been hurting recently. But I mean, this entire bull market, Bitcoin's been leading the entire way. Like we haven't seen really any alt sectors pop off except for meme coins at this point. Like I, and we're only 2 months after the halving, so I'm kind of thinking we haven't even scratched the surface of what the bull is actually going to end up being like.
Well, no, I mean, I completely agree with you, man, because if you look at like the Bitcoin dominance chart, let's just track it from the last halving. So Bitcoin dominance. So after the last halving, it had like from May of 2020 down to August of 2020. That was okay. That was DeFi summer. So it was declining there, which means, alts were going up relative to BTC. BTC was pretty flat. So you had a little bit of action in the alt marketplace there. And then from September all the way up until January, Bitcoin was just dominating everything, right? Like Bitcoin was in growth mode at that point. If you're looking at it for us right now, Bitcoin has been up only relative to alts realistically since like December of 22, right? Nothing has changed. So I really think it's a matter of like, you know, it was nearly a full year. Let's see. January, May of actually 7 months, 6, 7 months post the last halving before alts really started to rally and the Bitcoin dominance started to top. I mean, dude, so what would that be from April? Like October, November? So that's probably about the time whenever alts end up rallying. And like, I really think from here to there, could the Bitcoin dominance go higher? Sure. But eventually, I think when alts start to rally, it just craters and it nukes fast. So yeah, we really haven't seen anything as far, yeah, we've seen the meme coins, but as far as L1s, everything else, it's been kind of boring.
Nah, man, yeah, I got conviction. You know, I'm not wavering. I'm staying solid. Uh, it's never been about being the first bag to pump in the bull, right? It's about being my bag to pump in the bull. I can't guarantee about everybody else's bags unless they look exactly like mine. But I have full conviction, in parentheses, my bags.
I love to hear it, man. So what were the NFTs that you bought this past week? Just out of curiosity.
Well, over the past month, really, more pandas on the dip, of course, right? Because what, fuck, they're about to touch 4 ETH in March, and then they went all the way down to point 0.8 or point 0.7 uh, over this past month, and are now at 1. So I had to scoop a panda on the dip. I scooped a couple more beavers because that's been one of the only things that have actually been, it's been outperforming this, and this entire pullback. It's been staying pretty strong, and beavers are still beaving. Brodo gremlins. That's like what I hear is a beta Milady play. That's a ticker Harry Bama Bitcoin. Their NFT. I'm up 100% on them at the moment. So that's one of the better performing ones as well over the past month or two. Um, and some plushies. Um, hearing things about plushies. Know the team. Know people in the team. Good people. People I would feel safe putting my money with. So had to dip my toes and support there. And those have been my recent acquisitions. Now waiting. Um, been looking for 9 traits on the floor. Out of the 82 stonks, I'm not even gonna try and pronounce what his name was. Patch, whatever, the P guy. He had 0 9s, 0 9
A
traits
lot
out
of
of all of
sexy
them.
ones though. Like
So the amount of ribbons,
I
the
yeah,
amount of dude,
one of the
the amount of
sexiest
crazy
collections.
ribbons.
Yeah.
And then he had like 4 guppies he clipped too, dude. I don't know where I was at the time. I was not at the like near my phone or computer um, when this was going on. And I saw mess like notifications later. I may have been at work. That's what I probably think was happening. Um, and like I was like Yakima, a message from Yakima. It was like a couple guppies just went for 0.25, and I was like, this is crazy.
Yeah, at first I thought the .25s were a hack, and then I was like, no. I
Yeah.
mean, bro, the .25s are, I guess the equivalent. I think an even bigger discount than the 7080 gold um, being sold. So it's actually, I take that back because the 7080 gold at the top was going for like what, you know, like I said, anywhere from 500 to 1,000 ETH. So percentage wise, yeah, like huge haircut. But one of those things where like again, if you believe in the NFT marketplace, there are so many projects out there right now. I'm not even gonna just limit it to the stonks. Pick why you have conviction in something, and there's a lot of free shit, right? Because there are just a lot of floors that have been decimated for one thing or another, and when things eventually do spark up, like things move fast in the NFT marketplace. So again, is it right now? It's fine if it's not, right?
Here, here's another thing I have to put in perspective, right? Well, not only since we started talking on the space, ETH has pumped a little bit, um, but ETH is $3,400, right? And gas is at 2 Gwei. This has never before been seen. I am and would be bidding here because you're gonna be white when we're in true bull market in an alt cycle, and gas is 200-300 Gwei, and Ethereum is like 6, 8, even 10 grand. Now you're starting to look at 600, 700, 800, $9 100 transactions, and you're gonna be like, oh fuck. I wish I bought the Wonky Stonks at 0.04 when gas was 2 Gwei instead of now gas is 100 Gwei and you
Well,
stonks are at 1 ETH and they're 6,000 per ETH. Like,
but that's the thing though, Rooster. You're right. Like gas is like a 25 to 50% tax on a 0.04 floor if if the chain is hotter, right? Like it could easily be 25 to 50% tax on that transaction. So, if you bought a 0.04 stonk, you would be paying 0.05, 0.06 for it. So you have to see that level of return for it to even be break even. But actually, most likely could be even higher than that. You're going to have a little bit of fees that you pay on whatever back end, so it's like, yeah, if you're going to be accumulating cheap floors right now is as good of a time as there really is from that perspective. Because even if, say that you wait and say that somehow like stocks dip from 0.04 to 0.02, whatever, and you wanted to then sweep them at 0.02, you literally might end up be paying at that point the same price that you're paying right now just based on like how much more expensive gas is, right? So I completely it's pretty insane right now considering how many arguments we had about how unusable ETH was back in the day. And we looked at ETC and everybody's like, "Oh, you know, it just proves the point. ETH was only so expensive because it was so popular, right? Like that's what happens with chains with these EVMs whenever they are. I mean, heck, like we've seen it with AVAX, where AVAX has practically free transactions, but whenever inscriptions or the AVA inscriptions were huge, that chain was practically unusable also for the C chain whenever that shit was happening. So it's like any EVM chain that's popular is expensive. It's just, it's a feature, it's a bug, whatever you want to call it. It is what it is. Um, so yeah, right now, on-chain transactions on ETH itself are dead. L2s, ETH L2s are doing okay, right? Like, I am curious your thoughts on the Blast airdrop tomorrow
um, I feel like I got rugged.
from the Blur side of things.
Yeah, because that's where, you know, I kind of went in with the initial thoughts that Blast feels like it might be quickly diluted. And NFTs and Blur have already been ignored for the past while. So, I think my best are because from the beginning, 50-50, right? 50-50 Blast Blur. Those were the numbers I was hearing. I was like 50% of the airdrop is going to go to Blur stakers and Blur point traders and farmers and whatever the fuck, and the other 50% was gonna be like blast DApps and stuff. Yeah. Now I'm seeing numbers of 3% with 1% going to being unlockable. I don't know. Anything. I've always been underwhelmed. I'm not gonna lie. I've probably done the most farming, like quote unquote farming, out of all my farming in that ecosystem, and it has been my smallest payout by far. I think season two of Blur, I was over 100 ETH in volume, bid points, 100% loyalty, and I think my total season two airdrop was like $900, and um, it was extremely underwhelming. And now I'm expecting the same thing, dude. And so, yeah, I really don't give a shit. People are gonna dump
Bro,
everything
did you see
anyway.
what happened with D's?
What?
Did you see what happened with D's?
And
So D's posted that he unstaked his Blur yesterday. And he had like this massive multiplier, and he assumed that the multiplier like would still count for all the points that he's earned so far, and it would just affect future earnings. So when he unstaked it, the multiplier cut everything from the previous season. So he lost by like 1 day or 2 days that massive multiplier.
oh god, no, I did not see that.
Like, imagine how pissed you would be with the amount of shit that he does. Shoot, let's see how many
So pretty
points he
much like what
has.
happened to me with the arena.
Did you lose your like what happened with you on the arena? What do you mean?
I got essentially no points while having shit locked up for like a month.
Oh, yeah. Because of the old team, and they weren't like awarding any points during that sec or point during the transition, all the whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, or the week after apparently.
Um, let's see this. So I'm scrolling down trying to find where this is. He posted about it earlier, and it was just one of those things. I was like, dude, that has to suck.
But yeah, while you're doing that,
Like,
it's gonna get dumped, dude. Projects are gonna stop doing airdrops. Airdrops aren't gonna stop completely, but quality projects are gonna stop doing large community allocations because it's even got layer zero. They tried to do the best anti Sybil that they could, um, because people really are just trying to squeeze as much money out of these ecosystems as possible and just dump on TGE. And if you don't do it too carefully, you you it could honestly be a death nail for your project from the beginning. Speaking about stonks, though, I just bought a couple. You will never guess. You probably could, but you'll never guess the number of one of the stonks that I bought without
uh,
looking.
69.
No, but it does have a six in it.
Okay, 666.
Close, but no.
You said I'd never guess. I gave you two guesses.
662.
Okay,
So the neighbor stonk of 661.
nice. Oh yeah, I mean,
It's a nice stonk.
shoot, next door to greatness, next door to lore. Um, okay. By the way, I found the D's thing. He had 403 million blur points with 1x multiplier, and if he had been staking from the minute that things started, he probably had like what's the max multiplier that you can have?
I don't know. A lot. I've been max staking from the beginning, unfortunately, because I'm a turbo reaper.
So whatever the max multiplier is, he might have just taken like a 60-70% haircut, right?
Yeah, Bob got like 17 or 19 billion points or something.
Points.
Yeah.
Oh, well, actually, okay, this says increases half X per month. So it's been like, how long has this season been?
84 years.
Yeah, it's been a long time. So yeah, he might have even taken an 80% haircut. Who knows? But either way, man, it's just I
Either
feel
way,
like
it's
so
fucking
many
shekels
people
anyway. It's
little
gonna get cheated to oblivion. Like,
Well, what I was gonna say is little things like that are okay. He did show it. He has a screenshot before. He had a 5.6271 multiplier with 155,800 blur deposited. So he went from 2.3 billion down to 402 million. So it's just little things like that for the mechanics of this airdrop coming up from really influential people. And it's from the little people too, but like CBB, one of the largest, if not the largest, will be one of the largest blur holders out there, especially after this next season. He's like, I'm done with everything Pac-Man. Right? That is just the sentiment across the board, unless they pull a miracle out of their ass in the next 48 hours.
But they can't, dude, because this is the thing. What's gonna be the miracle? You're just gonna give them more money to G off a cliff. They're already done. That sentiment's already made. Like,
Well, the miracle last time was Blast and the integration. Like when you're talking about Blur and it being bullish, the miracle was Blast last time, right? Like when you look at the chart and when things like it was okay, I think November of 23 was when the last one happened because I remember like the chart just went straight up right after that. So like I think the combination was Blast plus the market itself was bullish, right? So you had two things
plus
going for you. Right
they
now,
auto staked your token, so it's anti G tokenomics, anti
yeah,
G denomics, which is what they're doing with Blast too. They're the top Blast farmers. Their coins are getting vested.
I saw that, man, which is it
It's
sucks
kind of
for
fucked
them.
up.
Man, imagine that happening. Just be like, hey, you did the best, so we're gonna reward you by you not being able to sell anything.
Did you see
But it
CBB's
might work
tweet
out.
about that? I'm gonna pin it. I'm gonna pin it to the
Yeah, pin it. But it actually, at the end of the day, by locking it up for a year, I was thinking about this. As long as they're able to maintain some level of activity on their chain, that's going to be the tough part. But as long as they are, it's kind of a little bit bullish from the perspective that shit's probably going to be higher a
No,
year from now than
it's
it will
anti
right now.
genomics, dude. The more you lock up, the less.
So,
And they knew the whales are gonna. This is like the only thing that this is good for is being somewhat of the Robin Hood of airdrops. Like you're finally giving the smaller guys a chance to G
yeah.
before they get full stack Hitlered.
So, yeah, no, it's definitely good for the little guy.
Um, do I think it's going to be a lot of money? For some, do I think I'm going to get a lot? No. If I do, I would be pleasantly surprised. I wouldn't complain about it. I'm not going to complain about free money, anyways. But I will ignore um, what's going on with Pac-Man because I haven't been much of a fan either. But this is what CBB tweeted. It should be popped up by now. He's like, although I am excited to govern the Blast L2 community, I would love to unleash my governance tokens to unlock on day one to the rest of the community in order to reach a fairer and wider distribution of the governance rights to my fellow colleagues of the crypto space. Pretty much telling everybody like he's gonna dump immediately. Uh, read that. read.
Dude, that took me half a second. Oh, it's incredible. Dude, that's the way he frames it's so genius. At first, I was like, "Oh, okay." Like, that went completely over my head the first time I read it.
Scroll by that. I was like, it's fucking hilarious. It's
Dude,
he's like, pretty much, I'm rebalancing, not only my portfolio but your portfolio as well.
that is a banger. Um, dude, I only have 1,000 blast gold, so I don't have that much. We'll see what it's worth. I mean, there are all these people that got in on it early, like that. I feel like the majority of people that I know have 20,000 or 100,000 blast gold, all this other stuff. I don't have enough to where it's incredibly significant for me from any perspective. Like if it ends up being worthless, it is what it is, right? Like if it's worth, say, $5 to $10 per blast gold, like Punk whatever keeps putting out there that they expect an $8 billion FDV
Sell
day
them.
one. And
Sell immediately.
yeah, if it's 8 bill FDV, I'm sorry, but sell immediately, because I just don't see. I think a lot of their statistics are inflated. Um, and at the end of the day, it's difficult to maintain that type of valuation as an L1, right? As good as they've done, especially say that the market takes another little bit of a haircut. I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up being like a $2 billion FTV, which is still solid, right? For a
Dude, I
new
wouldn't even
L1.
be surprised. I wouldn't even be surprised at it being a $1 or 1 billion, yeah, 1 to 2 billion at TGE, but quickly go under 1 billion in these market conditions. Because
Yes.
as soon as this happens tomorrow, it's gonna get whatever is unlocked is getting jeeted off a cliff, and they're done playing with this toy. Unless if there's new Ponzonomics, which I mean, you got to give the credit to Pac-Man. He is a Ponzonomic genius.
Genius. Genius.
Genius. Like if someone can come up with new Ponzi's, it's gonna be this guy. Is it gonna be enough to keep it, over a 1 billion FDV? I am not convinced.
Okay, question. Will it do better than the friend launch?
Yes.
Okay, I agree. It's tough to do worse compared to, like, relative to what everybody said. Everybody was like, "Oh, $4, $5 is," and heck, I was right there saying it too, right? OTC, there was some volume, there was this, that, and the other. Like, all signs were pointing to that was a decent launch price, and it ends up launching. And like, I remember sitting at dinner. Actually, I was at drinks or having drinks on a date whenever it launched, and it hit like $10 on the app, and I was just sitting there, let me claim, I want to dump this right now. This is,
Dude, I was
are you
trying
kidding me
so
right
hard.
now? I was
I was
trying
trying so
so
hard.
hard because I was like, this is worth so much right now compared to what I really thought it would be. So I was trying so hard. Then by the time I finally was able to, it was down to like a buck 20. And at that point, I was like, nah, not worth it. Right. And ended up rebounding. I think I sold most of mine like right around $2 is probably like the dollar cost average, whatever. So was it the Pico top? No. Was it the Pico bottom? No. But one of the things that we brought up that I talked about during the friend airdrop, you kind of have a good idea early on what some of this shit's going to be worth, right? Like, odds are it's going to find a nice settling point. Will it reach?
Eighty
Eventually, it's going to hit a
percent
low.
below what it launches at is where it settles.
I mean, maybe depending on where they launch it, probably here. But like, realistically, you just have a shit ton of volatility there at the beginning. I agree though. I don't think that like it touching beneath a $1 billion FTV probably isn't as crazy as it sounds, right? So say that it just, we're just going to use 1 billion as a low case for fun right now because everybody's saying 8. And in my mind that kind of makes sense because everybody was saying, like the biggest friend tech users were all saying $10 to $20 friend tech, right? Everybody was saying that for the biggest users. And I was like, yeah, that sounds a little bit high. So how about like $4 to $5? And it ended up being like 1 to 3. So with this, you've got people that are out there dropping these stats that, okay, gold's going to be $5 to $10. That's the consensus that I hear on average. So let's drop that in half. Say, okay, we think it might be 250. Realistically, what does that mean? It's probably going to range between $1 or two, right? Right? And like maybe touching down to like 80 cents per gold. Who knows, So that's kind of my expectation. I tweeted it out as a joke the other day that like I am setting my expectations for gold to be $1 so that they're not broke, so that it's easier for me to not like be disappointed. But it was a half joke. It's kind of true. I'm like, well, in these conditions, $1's not crazy. The $1's not terrible either, right? Like, It's still above 1 bill FTV.
Yeah, I mean their biggest saving grace is that they're vesting CBB and Alex tokens, right?
That is the thing that's definitely more bullish on it versus Friendtech. But at the same time, I'm
Like
not sure.
Frentech showed us what users really want to do with their coins, right? Like 100% community airdrop. You saw what the community really wants to do with their coins.
Well, but
Blast, I feel like
Friendtech's
saw that.
utility for their token was also the shittiest thing that I've ever seen compared to what
Yeah,
they could have done with how much time they had to develop something. It was, oh, here's the exact same product, but like a shittier version,
yeah. Razor's no Pac-Man.
right? So from all of that, and they also didn't provide any initial liquidity, right? That was all user based liquidity. So there are several things here that I'm looking at that like actually make it seem like this one probably has a higher chance of not fizzling out quite as fast. So, I say $1. More realistically, I really, $2 to $3 would be, if honestly, wherever it is above $2 to $3, I'm happy with, and I'll just sell my shit because I know one way or the other, it's going to end up settling out beneath these prices eventually. It's going to take like 6 to 8 months of just dumping of a bunch of the users that got their airdrop to settle out before you really find that base level. And then at that point you start aping in, right? Like Blast might end up being, you see if there's still activity, you see all this other stuff, and you're like, okay, this is worth aping in at this point. So I think that's the thing with the average airdrop here, right? Like there's a lot of value extraction there at the beginning, but like 6 to 8 months down the line, you really get the opportunity to be able to buy into some of that blood. And like I I think prices on the good chains and the good projects will end up higher than whatever the high was at TGE, and probably multiples higher eventually.
So you're saying stake your airdrops?
I mean, not necessarily, right? Like I don't know. Point being though, it's going to be interesting to watch.
I'm
There'll
kidding. Never
be
stake your airdrops. Always G your airdrops off the cliff.
there's going to
And
be a stimmy tomorrow across the market. Like it'll be interesting to just see what happens with it. I'll tell you this: I think 0% of it ends up back in the NFT marketplace immediately. Maybe a
yeah,
small,
seems like it. Dude,
maybe a
you know what
small
was crazy?
percentage.
You know what was crazy? Layer Zero airdrop was the first airdrop I've seen in a while that people actually, pandas got swept up, pudgies got swept up, like the communities that were included in Zero, spent their Zero on the community. Some of them spent their Zero on the communities that got them the allocation. So that was nice to see.
Dude, what are your thoughts on I saw this headline by Cirrus yesterday or maybe it was this morning, where there was like a 3.3 mil bid wall put up on Pudgies, for like right beneath where the floor was, kind of at that level of there's a lot of bad debt that's sitting out there and it looks like a bailout, right? I'm
Yeah,
curious,
I
two
thought that's
things.
what they did. I
One,
thought they bailed out the Ben Dow loans.
so do you think that like is that a Pudgy themselves? Is that Luca just putting up the money? Do you think it's a DAO that's outside of Pudgy doing this? Is this a VC putting up the money? Like, what do you think's happening there? Yeah, I'll start off with that because I like this question has a few layers to it.
Mm, I don't know who's putting up the money. I don't think it really matters that the money is being put up. I think that anybody with the the time in the space and like understanding what is going on and understanding that it was, a default and liquidation cascade that pushed these numbers. And if they have any belief that any NFTs would do anything, pudgies are going to be your prime bet. I feel like it's a safe play if you want low leverage uh, like a low leverage trade. I feel like with a not super short price or time horizon, if you give it a year, if you have a year, 2 year time horizon, I feel like that's gonna end up being a solid play.
Dude, I agree. So I was thinking through it earlier, and at first I was thinking, okay, this is like Luca and the team putting up a bid wall to stop whatever this cascade is from happening and protect the floor price, et cetera, et cetera. And at first, when I read that, I was honestly a slightly bearish on it because I was sitting there thinking, like, is that the best use of capital for their 3.5 mil? For what they're trying to build elsewhere. But then the more I started to think through it, I started to flip the script, and I was like, honestly, this probably isn't Luca or the team. This probably is a legitimate bid from somebody that's realized exactly what you said, where they're like, okay, prices are super depressed on this right now because of this liquidation cascade. And eventually somebody's going to stop it, right? Like, remember the liquidation cascade that Bitcoin had back during COVID, where I know it probably wasn't Kobe, but Kobe tweeted out the buy wall. Nobody's going to end up selling past this, right? Somebody probably just said F it with Pudgies because they had conviction in it. And they're like, you know what? Somebody's got to stop this liquidation cascade, and this is a place where I'm willing to put up a solid bid. So I really think it was somebody that just was looking to ape with size into the pudgy community, and that honestly is bullish as heck, right? So, um, yeah, but if it were the team, I again that like if the pudgy team came out and they were like, hey, this was us, we're protecting you guys, we're looking out for y'all with this, that would be a different story.
Is that why you haven't bought any stonks on the dip?
Dude, I will end up buying some stocks on the dip, man. Trust me. It'll
No, I'm not. I'm sorry
no.
if that came out
No.
like I was calling you out. No, I wasn't. I wasn't trying that at all. I meant it almost as like a legitimate question. Like,
A
has
little
that
bit.
thought crossed your mind?
I mean a little bit, man, because there's part of me that's just like, let's just see right now with where the market is. Let's just kind of like let shit run, right? And I view it as one of those things with the stonks where like I've got high conviction in the NFT marketplace, high conviction the stonks where they're heading. And at a certain point, if the market's heading against the direction of what you're trying to do, you know, there's an infinite amount of capital that can be dumped into you with that, where you just kind of sometimes have to let shit settle out. And then from there, start making the plays, right? Like,
Yeah,
but
that's exactly the same reason I didn't. Once I got the notification that I missed the Turbo Grails, I wasn't quick to. Plus, I ain't buying no 82 stonks at the moment. So just as a single effort, wouldn't have really done anything for one, right? We don't know who else is going to cascade for two, right? At this point in my stonk collection, I'm definitely curating, right? Like the amount of unfortunately no nine traits were dropped during that, but the amount of sleeper traits that you can end up getting for a floor or less seems to be unlimited at this point.
well,
Uh,
and let me just interrupt you real quick though, man, because I do want to clarify this too. Like Pakachu, whatever his name is, ended up dumping those. Dude, there's like I have zero any ill will toward that dude for or anybody else for that matter that sells shit, right? Like, if anything, I feel bad because I'm like, I wish with how long and how like that guy was able to hold on, the only thing that I wish is like that the prices were at a different level for him, right? It would be cool. But at the same time, if he needs that liquidity, he needs it. Well, like I've got no hard feelings toward the man whatsoever. I'm not going to sit like, he had a beautiful collection that he curated. dude held with iron hands, like pumped
Yeah, he
us a
was.
couple times. Like I love, love the dude and wish him the absolute best. Right.
Yeah, to clarify, nobody in the Stone community has any ill will towards him except for maybe Puck. I've seen some of his messages in the group chat, and again, I would never be caught in a car with Puck alone. Uh,
That's funny.
we got to give before we end up closing this out here in a little bit. We got to end up giving the speakers that hopped up on.
Yeah, we do, and we've got probably about 10 minutes left until this phone craters. Anyway, it usually gives me about an hour or so, and it's feeling pretty hot. Um, so we got Mr. Crow first and foremost. You were the first one up here. What's going on, man? Welcome up.
Hey, thanks for having me. I missed you guys. I just wanted to come up and say hello. Um, I did tell 80s that you missed a couple spaces, Kaleo.
Is it just me that can't hear him, or
It's
It's
just
just
you that
you.
can't hear him.
Yeah, fuck
Just
Rooster.
reconnect.
Rooster, he just said he misses you. He loves you.
Like a cocky, skinny son of a bitch. Yeah, 80s. He said he wasn't mad. He's just disappointed that we broke the streak, but all is forgiven on my end. I just miss you. I hope all is well. Holding down the fort, holding the line. I think all will be well.
I missed you too, man. I mean, it's you know, all good things as far as streaks eventually come to an end. But I mean, at the same time, there still is a streak of doing 119 spaces, like which is incredible. And a lot of projects over the course of the past couple years can't say that they've done the same thing. And it like it's one of those things where I look at it and I'm like, okay, is it perfection? No. But if your pursuit for anything is perfection, you're eventually going to fail. And like at that point, you either ask yourself, like, okay, well, shoot, the goal wasn't reached. Do you sit there and do you quit or do you keep going? And I look at it, I'm like, well, was perfection reached? No. But does that mean that like, greatness still can't be? No. So we're gonna keep riding with the spaces. Don't
hey,
worry.
don't think I didn't hear that little last bit, Crow. Man, fool, better back up before you see dragons.
I didn't mean any
Me
harm.
dragging these nuts across your face, boy.
I don't want no problems. I don't want no problems. But yeah, all is well, Cleo. We just missed you. That's all. We appreciate you. I'll speak for everybody, even Puck. We all appreciate you.
I appreciate you also, Crow. Johnny, we also have you up on stage. What's up, man?
Hey, what's up, man? I was just wanted to ask you, could we maybe expect to see any stock charts from you anytime soon?
Bro, I've actually been, I kid you not, over the course of the past couple weeks, especially, I've been really diving hard back into looking at a lot of stocks. I just have not, well, one, I haven't entered any real positions yet with with anything stock wise, but there are a lot of things that I'm looking at that I'm kind of game planning for. Okay, this is what I want to do with XYZ here in the next couple of months, right? So I'm looking for a lot of setups right now, and honestly, I probably will end up start sharing some soon because it's part of my planned roadmap for ideally what I'd like to do over the course of the next several months is start dipping my toes back into the stock game, especially because like one thing I was looking at the other day, I was looking at Riot, um, and yeah, I was just looking at call options basically that you can get on the crypto space. Riot, for instance, didn't really start breaking out until November of 2020. It was really flat slash down nearly the entire summer post halving. Um, Even when the rest of the market was up. Actually, shoot, I need to look at the chart again before I make sure that I'm like actually saying shit correctly. Okay, I take that back. It was down most of like 2019, 2020. Ended up being pretty boring throughout the summer, slowly climbing, but it didn't really start to get fun until November. And that's where it just started printing multiples. And I was looking at its market cap because, like, one of the things with a company like Riot, they just print infinite, like, they just infinite shares dumped on, continuing to sell more and more shares. So its actual share price isn't reflective of what the valuation of the company has been over time. Um, but their market cap just looks ready to break out. And ideally, I'm sitting here thinking, like, starting to ape into calls in September would kind of be my goal for that one. And I'm talking about like leaps a year out, just out of the money, far as I can get. It's at like $9 right now. So I'm talking like $20, $30 range, buying leaps that are like $1.50, $2 that are in that range, and just sitting on, for the next year, year and a half. And I think you could print multiples. So I'm sitting here thinking through different plays like that. I've been looking through Tesla again. I've been looking through a bunch of other different names. So I just haven't been tweeting about the stock stuff. But like I've started to be interested in it again. So yes, eventually you'll see some degen plays pop
That's
back up.
fantastic, man. I'm happy to hear that. That's like the most bullish news I've heard all week. So let's get it.
Yes, sir. All right, man. Well, it's good to have you up here. Rooster, dude, I will DM you about this after the space, but we should try to catch each other tomorrow at some
Yeah,
point.
I'm down.
I think I get my car back in the morning. We'll see. I just like I had the tire, or I had a flat that ended up having to get a couple tires replaced. Man, tires are expensive these days. Like one freaking tire for my car, $780.
Dang, you ain't got a tire guy, dude?
What do you got, a
Seven.
Rolls
Okay.
Royce?
No, I drive a Q8. Like it's nothing crazy. Um, but
Oh, no
I
wonder.
didn't
No wonder why I
realize.
was in the shop.
Hey, dude, it's been good. I mean, actually, I will give it credit. I drove all the way back from Young Life Camp with this tire, where it was one of those things. It was actually a blessing in disguise. It was a slow leak. Um, so I was able to fill it back up, realized at the flat when I got on the road, filled it back up, and just about every 2 days up until then, like I've just been refilling it, waiting to take it in because their service appointment wasn't available for another week. But I got one of the tires for free, under warranty. The other tire 780, so two tires for 780. Not as bad, but still, like I used to like my old car before this. I think I paid 780 for like four tires, so not used to this.
We're getting
Yeah,
squeezed left and right, left and right. I got two
yeah.
more
Let's
cents.
definitely link up tomorrow. But also before we dip off, to make the Telegram talkable.
I I did make the telegram. I
No,
invited,
talkable.
like I
Like
haven't.
make
Oh,
me.
talkable.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Before I channel type private. I'll figure this out right now. Where do I, dude? I was wondering why nobody talked about it. Nobody talked in there. Let's see. Manage channel. Um, is it because it's private? Why?
Oh, because I think you clicked like, I think it's new group, not new channel.
Okay, maybe I delete the channel then,
I
and
think
I
that,
make a
well,
new
you can
group.
keep the channel and use that as the like welcome page, and you can do it as announcements. But two telegrams I know might be a little much for you, so if you need to delete it and just do a one encompass all.
Okay, Well, I will start a group as well, which I think you're right because a group can have 200,000 people in it.
Yeah.
So, all right, I added you to the group, and I will send this out in there. How do I make it? Manage group. I'm adding you as an admin right now, just to.
Hey, while you're doing that, Pick God and Lander, there's an NFT Philly thing on Thursday. Free food and drinks in Philly, so hit me up if you want to hit that. And then Kaleo, the thing we talked about, that .eth, it should be attainable for you right now.
TM4. All right, gents. Well, it has been a solid time catching up with everybody. Rooster, we can talk a little bit more in the Telegram, but also hopefully get the chance to end up hanging tomorrow. So, yeah, appreciate you guys.
Yes,
Love you
sir.
guys. Wonky Stonks are inevitable, and we'll see y'all next time.
Good to be back.
Yes, sir.